Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel, and today I wanted to give my thoughts around a game that I've recently unboxed or unbagged and shared with you. That's Equatorial Clash, the Ecuadorian Peruvian War of July 1941 from Snafu. This is a game by Marc Figueras of number 3 of the Small Battles series, and I'm not going to do a full in-depth review because Stuka Joe, you will probably have seen his YouTube videos, has done a very in-depth review playthrough of this game when it first came out, and frankly it's an excellent review, so I'd recommend you go and watch that if you want to find out a little bit more. But what I wanted to do today was just pick out, for me, having played a couple of games now, some of the key elements of the game, how it works, and on screen throughout the video you should see some pictures of some of the components in play as well. So as you know from some of my other videos, I'm quite the advocate of Snafu games. I've got a number of their games in my collection. I love their designs, I love their artwork, their components, and their very clear rules, and they tend to cover what I feel are very unusual periods that often don't get a lot of focus in our gaming community. So Equatorial Clash, I'm going to start with the map. Beautiful newspaper kind of era specific design, lovely colour palette, clearly laid out, point-to-point area movement system. You've got a number of things going on the map. So you've got the main area in the middle, and then you've got these other subsidiary theatres that you can influence throughout the game alongside the political elements as well. So there's quite a lot there, which all incorporates into the choices that you have to make throughout the game. I love the player aid sheets. There are 4 of them, very nicely laid out. Again, lovely clear colour palette. So you've got the Peruvians in the kind of orangey colour and the Ecuadorians in the yellow, so that makes for a nice, easy to understand what rules reflect to which combatant. The only slight thing I would say in regard to the play sheets is player sheet 2 and 3 are on the same sheet, so it's a double-sided sheet. It would have been nice to have had perhaps a separate sheet for all 4 of those, because often I found myself keep flicking over trying to find information on 2 or 3 in particular. 2 has a lot of the tables and mechanics to do with the tables, and 3 is more specific to the available actions and the AP expenditure. In fact, it's the other way around. I do apologise, but ultimately they're both key things that you're looking at and need to refer to when you're playing the game from that point of view as well. The 4th play sheet is really good. Again, you have that alongside the map on the table, because that incorporates both the turn track, action points and victory points all into kind of one umbrella, which is again a very clever thing. I'd like to see that in a few other games actually. I think that's quite a good way of dealing with various aspects of the game in one track, so that's a positive thing. In terms of the rules, sequence of play, you basically got sort of political aspects to look at, reinforcements, AP assignment, and then the impulses. I'll come back to those in a moment. Other front resolution, so these other theatres that are going on in the main campaign, victory points, tallies, and then end of turns. So I just want to talk a little bit about the action point impulse aspect of the game, which is probably one of the key drivers in there. So each turn, each side will have a number of action points which they can expend within their impulse. Now, impulses will flit from player to player until one side passes or runs out of action points. action points can be spent on one of 4 subcategories each turn, that they're each impulse. So if it's my turn, for example, I could pick a strategic, an operational, a tactical, or a command action, and then I could use any number of my outstanding action points within that action for my impulse. Once I've done with everything I can do within that action, I would pass over to my opponent. They would do the same. So you could have a scenario where you might do a strategic move action one time, and then a tactical one the following, and so forth. But ultimately, overall, your action point tally is always reducing, and once you've run out of points, you can't do anything else in that turn. So the friction element, managing those action points, thinking carefully about which of these operational actions you want to do, if that's the right word. Very, very clever, nuanced aspect of the game. I really like that. So that drove some very interesting choices. I've only played this solitaire, playing both sides, but I just wanted to kind of understand how that mechanic works in the game, and I really like that. I think it was a really clever way Marc's developed there of giving the player lots of choices, but not with a finite number of options. You know, they're going to have to make some tough choices because they're not going to be able to do everything they want to do, and I love games like that. So the rules are very well written, they're very concise, they're very clear, they're laid out very well. As I say, the quality of the print, the player aid sheets themselves are excellent. Just would have liked that extra one to split 2 and 3 up ideally. The counters I've talked about before with the Snafu games, again, they're adequate for the price point that you're getting this game for, and it's very reasonable and cost effective, their games. You can't really expect much more. However, from a personal point of view, with aging eyes, I do find it quite difficult sometimes to read the information on these counters, because there can be quite a bit going on. They're quite small, quite fiddly, moving them around on the map, particularly if you're on plexi, which I tend to put over these paper maps. But that's a small grumble. The other thing I really liked in the rules, which are not rules themselves, was the historical background. Now, as a player, a wargamer, a gamer, if I'm venturing into a new period that I don't know very much about, it's really nice for the designer to put something in there. It gives you a flavour of the history, perhaps why they've made those game design choices, and that's where I always start. I read the historical background, give myself a real bit of flavour and chrome of the period, and then I'll look at the rules. And there's 5-6 pages dedicated to that in the book. And this is the Ecuadorian Peruvian War at the end of the day, and I'm sure none of us know a huge amount about that. So for me, that was a really good start point, and kind of tickled my interest to want to find out a little bit more. So overall, you know, I think it's a very, very good game. I really enjoyed it. I think it's got lots of longevity in terms of replayability. There's lots of ways tactically you can take the game, because you can focus on politics, you can focus on combat, you can focus on other fronts. You know, there's lots of things you can do. You've got airborne combat, you've got transport, you've got naval, you know, there's lots of things going on here, lots of choices, and I really like that. Production values and the colour palette, as I say, really nice, lovely colours. I mean, even just the front sheet on the front of the rules, what a lovely piece of artwork that is, absolutely gorgeous. You can see the quality of some of the player aid sheets there, really, really good quality. The choices, the friction, are the big things, big drivers for me. I love games with plenty of friction, plenty of choices. For me, that then means you're getting real bang for your buck in terms of replayability. it's a very unusual period, and possibly that's why this game hasn't had the headlines and the news that it deserves. Hopefully this video and my other videos and those that Stuka Joe and others have done will highlight what a great quality production and a very clever little game this is. So that's Equatorial Clash, that's my views. This is Marc Figueras' game from Snafu Design, part of their Small Battle series. I will put details in the comments boxes, in the boxes on the video, so you can go and have a look at the Snafu site. There's some really interesting games from some very unusual periods in there. Please go and give it a look. But I hope you've enjoyed that insight into this game, and look forward to bringing you some more information on new games or other games I've played very, very soon. Thanks for watching.